So I've always had the impression that humanity as a whole is a failure. It's like one cosmic joke, one big experiment that has gone terribly wrong and is still persisting for no reason. And that has been confirmed even more within the last four years. Just looking at all the suffering and all the agony, all of the strife and struggle that has been unleashed on this planet. And I mean, just waves and waves and waves of problems, of new struggles, of new obstacles in people's lives, in all of our lives, and looking at the way that society is functioning, which is barely. Today, I was on my Facebook and I shared a photo of a man who took his own life. And the reason he did it was because he was in a very bad financial debt. By the time that, well, after he died, there was only $6 in the man's bank account. Only six. Now, he had applied for help. From what I read, he applied for help from the government. He was hoping that he would be able to get some kind of payments to, at least help with, the debt. And I can imagine other expenses that he had for him and his family. He had like 3 kids, which is even worse. But he took his own life. And that just, it made me so furious because, like, why is life this way? Why is it all this fucking suffering, all this pain, all this agony, all of this strife and struggle just to be able to live? Just to be able to live, you have to put up with so much shit. And the shit has been getting progressively worse. We've got wage slavery. You've got people working their asses off and still not being able to do a goddamn thing but struggle. And the misery is just growing. If you pay any attention to the economy within the last year or two, you are very aware of the inflation crisis that we have. You are also aware, or at least you should be, of the possibility of an impending Great Depression. And by Great Depression, I mean it's going to be worse than the actual depression that happened in the past. That's being discussed right now. What are we going to do about that? What's the path forward? There isn't one, I don't think. I don't know what the future holds. I'm not a prophet. I'm not a seer. But I can tell you that our prospects as a species doesn't look good. It just doesn't. And it never did. But it's even worse now. And it just further pisses me off because all the advancements that humanity has made, and I'm not going to be glib and pretend that humanity hasn't made any advancements. It has in its history. We are at a place now where our technology can literally unite all of us in communication. We can talk to each other from around the world. We can see each other from around the world, and on it goes. But yet, with all of this vast wealth and technology, what has humanity accomplished for itself other than driving itself utterly insane? We've got the most wealth, we've got the most technology, and look what we've done with it. Make life fucking harder. We have yet to establish one utopia. We have yet to establish one system of governance that has been able to make people's lives infinitely better. We haven't done a damn thing but add extra stress onto ourselves. The opposite of the purpose. How do you develop technologies and great achievements with the aim of making life worse? Our governments have failed. The people who are in cahoots with the governments are also failures. And by that, I mean people who think it's perfectly fine to just be able to struggle and strive to just pay bills and then pretend that there is a virtue in struggling. You all know the type I'm talking about. The people who think, oh, well, pull yourself up by the bootstrap. Work harder. It'll all pay off if you just work harder. Those fucking morons who are so goddamn out of touch with reality that it just makes you violently nauseous to hear them speak. They have no clue of what they're talking about. And they think it's virtuous that they are wage slaves. They like the fact that they work, and they brag about working 80 hours plus. They brag about having to struggle to find 3 or 4 jobs just to pay bills. They like that shit. So these are the fucking unhelpables. These are the people who are just going to keep humanity in struggle. They like it. I have nothing but disdain for these fucking morons. But overall, it's so sad to see the state of affairs. It really is. I mean, I'm outdone, man. I really am. You know, I often ask, how long do we have to keep putting up with this shit? Because it's a nightmare. It is. And I can tell you, I've never been hopeful for the future, but I'm even less hopeful now. I can't imagine having to do this 50 plus more years. I just can't imagine it. I'm really sick of it. I'm really, really, really sick of it. Because all that we've been given so far is just struggle. You know, if it's not the financial problems, it's something else. It's the emotional problems, it's the mental problems, it's the physical health problems, it's the problem with dealing with other people. It's just the problems of everything. And on top of that, we have an additional stress from the global economy, which is pretty much on the verge of collapsing. And then you have all this shit about a possibility of another war breaking out. Yeah. I don't think Steven Spielberg could write a horror script as complicated and as terrible as what we have now. This shit is nightmare fuel. It really is nightmare fuel. I'm at a loss for what I'm seeing taking place. And the idea that people can just go about their day and not even think about this shit is mind-boggling to me. How do you wake up in the morning and pretend that none of this is happening? You know, how do you just accept this? That's another thing I don't understand. Like, people say, oh, it's just life. It's just how life is. Why is that acceptable? Why do you accept that? You know, how do you wake up and know that this is what life intrinsically is and decide to have children? How do you do that? Why? What's the point? And people pass off struggle and strife and terror and suffering to their children like nothing is happening in the world, like everything is perfectly fine. And I feel so bad for the babies who are being born now. They've got a hell of a way to go, and their stupid fucking parents are to blame for putting them into this nightmare bullshit, knowing what it entails. It's so sad. It's so sad. And I just don't think there's anything that can be done. I really don't. I think that we just have to brace ourselves for whatever. I think that the man's case won't be unique. It's going to continue happening as the years go by. People are going to continue being angry. They're going to continue being broken down to hopelessness. And you're going to see a lot more of these cases grow. Because the stress is just too much. And it shouldn't even have to be like this. All this goddamn wealth, all of the resources that we have at our disposal, all of our technology, all of the advancements that we've made, and humanity still failed. It failed miserably. Not one utopia in its history, not one. We've still got the same petty squabbles. We've still got the same problems. And they've just gotten worse. Uh, Terrible.